Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is on the left side, and this is where it talks about stretches and shrinks. It says, given the function g of x, describe the transformation to h of x. So g of x, this is our parent function, g of x equals x squared. We can type that into Desmos. Over here, g of x equals x squared. Okay, and it's our original parent function. I'm going to go back to my settings and make it black. That way I can really tell the difference between the transformations that we see. The next thing I want to do is h of x equals 2 times g of x. I'm going to type that in so we can see what it looks like. H of x equals 2 g of x. And sometimes Desmos will do this where it will give you the same color, and I actually want this color to be different. So I'm going to make this color purple, just so I can really tell the difference. Okay, this parabola is what we call a vertical stretch. It is getting narrower. So we will say that on number 1, it's a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. Okay, so now when we look at number 2, h of x equals negative 3g of x. Well, the number that comes before the g of x, this tells me it is also a stretch because it's a whole number. It's a number larger than 1. But that negative is going to do something different. So let's type it in. If I type it in as a negative 3, notice that this gave me a reflection. So we'll say it has a reflection across the x-axis. And it had a vertical stretch by a factor of 3. Okay, it still got narrower. All right, so now looking down at number 3, this is a little bit different. We're giving a fraction. So if I type in it's negative 1/2, okay, notice that my my parabola is a little wider now. That purple parabola is a little wider than our parent function, and it's also still reflected. So over here, I can write that this negative sign made a reflection across the x-axis, and this time it has a vertical shrink because it's being kind of like smushed to make it wider. So a vertical shrink by a factor of sorry. Okay, so if I look at the next one without even typing it into Desmos, hopefully I can see that it's a fraction. It does not have a negative sign, so it should be a vertical shrink by a factor of 2/3. So let's try it. If I type in h of x equals 2/3 dx. Right, this red line is just a little bit wider than our original parent function of the black line. All right, so now going down to number 5, it says the graph of g of x equals x squared, that's our parent function, is transformed to create the graph h of x equals 4 times g of x. Describe the transformation. This 4 is a positive number, so there's no reflection. And then it's a number larger than 1, so I believe it's going to stretch, but we can check. I'll keep my parent function up there and type h of x equals 4 g of x. Okay, and it did stretch. It is narrower. So it's a vertical stretch by a factor of 4. Okay, it is narrower. All right, the next one, the graph of g of x equals x squared, which is the parent function, is transformed to create the graph of g of x equals negative g of x. So I think that's supposed to probably say h of x.